Hey, everybody. Welcome in, welcome in, welcome on in, everybody. You can see wrong shoulder. I'm keep going on the wrong shoulder, but you can see my dog in the background. That's too cute. I kept going over the wrong shoulder, like I'm not used to being on camera. But welcome in, everybody. If you're new to the channel, hi, hello, and welcome. If you're watching on a replay and you're new or you're not new, hi, welcome back, or hello and welcome to the channel. If you're a returning Titan and you're here tonight, thank you for joining me. I appreciate that. And thank you for giving me the extra minute to come on through the music. My phone rang. I was like, you gotta be kidding, right? I was like, of all the times to call, but it was important. So I'm glad that I was able to answer right before the live. And I just said, let me know when you're on your way home and all those. So we'll see. We'll see how he's doing. If he calls me back, we'll know we're in trouble. No, I'm just kidding. He won't call back. But hey, True Crime Lullabies, we'll see who's in the chat and then we'll get started. We're going to talk about a new case tonight, Brian Thompson. I think everyone probably knows what happened, but we're going to go into some details with that case, and they haven't caught the suspected shooter yet. So we're waiting to hear, we're waiting for LAPD to LAPD, I guess. So welcome on in, everybody. Hey, Ladybug, how are you doing? Hey, Catherine. Stephanie's in here. Welcome in, everybody. It's good to see you guys. Hey, Cat K. Hey, Catherine. Oh, so your husband knows about it? A lot of people were actually talking about how they were like happy about this and stuff. And I was like, oh my Lord, have mercy. Like, that's another human being, Where did we miss the mark? I mean, literally, Hey, Mary Beth. I said he was handsome too. If you're talking about the same person. If you're talking about Brian, I said he was. I said, and then Vincent was in here earlier, and I was on the walking pad and I was watching stuff and like reading stuff for tonight. And I was like, this guy looks like the guy that everybody in high school wanted to be friends with. Like he looks like my old best friend from high school. Hey, Sunshine. Hopefully you can. Hopefully. I'm sorry, I was a little late. Hopefully you guys can stay up with us. I know I'm a little later tonight. I wasn't sure if it's better to go later or better to go at 8:15. It's really up to you guys. Hey, Mike. Hey, Chin. Welcome in, everybody. Do you have twins? Who did I see? Mo. Hey, Mo. It's good to see everybody. Hey, Dreamcatcher. I thought I missed somebody, but hey, Proud Mimi. I probably did. If I missed you, I'm sorry. It was Wildfire, actually. I was going to tell you have a really pretty name. And I like your little person, too. That's cute. Hey, Tony. Welcome in. It's good to see you guys. Okay, I'll get to the bottom so everyone's not yelling, hollering at me. I don't think anybody will. I think those days are done. I think the most of the people know. She's going to say hi to people. It's a live, Hey, Ludwig. That's why we're doing a live. Hey, Niners girl. That way we can talk to each other, right? And before we get started, just a really quick side note, because I'm sure while we're during the live, someone will ask, and then I'll be like, I'll get sidetracked. I went and got my prosthetic. So I have a prosthetic eye, that is. And I went up today and I got a new one started. They're gonna make it. He didn't even take any measurements this time. I was like, for real? He said, since this one fits so nicely and I like the way it feels, it doesn't rub, it doesn't, nothing, no irritation or anything, that he's just going to use he used this one as a mold. So he took it with him and he probably made some sort of mold out of it. And yeah, they're like going to have it done in 2 weeks. I was like, that's fast. He's like, do you want me to mail it to you like normal? And I'm like, not this time. Because usually if they mail it, it'll literally come in the USPS, like the United States Postal Service will bring it. And it's in a box. And I just don't want to put it in. I don't want Vincent to have to worry about that. So I was like, I'm just going to come back up and have y'all put it in. And he's like, it'll take like 5 minutes. I'm like, that's all I need. That's all I need. So I figured I'd give you a little of what was going on. So, hey, Willow's Trials and True Crime Discussions. How are you? Welcome in. So I'm excited. And then they took this one which was even more exciting almost. And he redid this one. He's like, all the colors off, like the white part of my eye is more of a blue tint. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I guess I don't look at my eyes that much. He's like, you don't notice? I'm like, no, I don't look at my eyes at all. I, I really just avoid them. I don't know. I avoid them like the plague. But he like did something with this eye, like my obviously my prosthetic. He did some molding, and he made the black part that goes around your eye, like around the outside, bigger, and then the inside smaller. And I don't know. He was like, "Do you notice a difference?" And when he put it in, I noticed a big difference. Like it was pointing down like a little, and now it's right where it needs to be. I'm excited about it. So I wanted to tell all my friends today. And I wasn't going to go driving and, living. So driving and living. Look, I just made that up. That could be a new thing for somebody. But we'll get to tonight's live. But thanks for listening. I appreciate it. So in a couple of weeks, your girl's going to have a brand new shiny eye. It's going to be looking good. It's going to be looking good for Christmas. Is that right? That's right time for Christmas. When did he say my appointment was? I think he said before. It don't matter. It don't matter if it's before or after. But it'd be cool if it was before. I am really happy. Yeah. They're a really good company. So I'm going to try to see if I can go up to their their laboratory sometime and see how these are made. Like, I want to know the whole thing. I want to know all of it. I want to know it all. And they're a family company. So I really appreciate that. I do. I really appreciate that. They're very, very kind. And they're very, patient. I don't know. They're just, and like they keep checking on you. He'll tell you it would be 20 minutes. I'm like on my phone, just watch it. I was watching Granny today in there, had it like the volume down. Of course, sometimes she yells and, she'll cuss or something. So I had it all down because they're like family owned. And he kept peeking in and I'm like, I'm fine. I'm fine. So, hey, Aries, welcome in. I was reading this before. Oh my gosh, I've been reading so much on this case. I think I've got the storyline down. They are Aries. You can hang out with us if you want. This is where the peace is. We hide over here. Really, I mean, that's what we do. We hide over here. Welcome to our world. Okay. So this is some crazy. This is something would happen in New York. Not really, but I'm just kidding. Aries, don't come at me. He's from New York. But I mean, to have a shooter walk up on a suspect, not suspect, a victim. I'm sorry. A shooter walk up on a victim and, at 6:45, 6:46 in the morning, unalive that person in front of a witness is brazen, to say the least, right? A lot of people are saying this is a hired hit. They think that this guy was hired to do this. I don't know. I'm not so sure. I'm not so convinced. Some of the things that he's done to me is kind of a little amateur hour. So unless this is his first, hit, they put him on, he failed. He's going to get caught. I have a faith that he's going to get caught. Very brazen, yeah. Betty, I know. I was looking it up because I was looking up how to pay for those little carts, those little scooters. And apparently he had one of the battery packs with him to one of them scooters. So I don't know if he somehow rigged up, took the other battery pack off a scooter, put the new battery pack on. Hopefully we're going to learn tonight through more reading because I want to know. I want to know about that. But I did read that. So the first thing we'll go over is just a visual timeline of the UnitedHealth CEO's shooting. So Brian, that's where he worked. He was the CEO of UnitedHealth. He was 50 years old. And this man, he just walked right up to him, pretty much. Now, what got me kind of confused was that he didn't say hey, Brian, or call out his name and have him turn around. Or even when he was walking by him, call out his name there or, step out in front of him. He didn't shoot him like center mass in the head, like where they tell you to tell you to. So I think if this was someone that was hired, I think that they would have went for like the head, the chest. I don't know. This guy went for the back and the leg. I mean, I don't know. I just don't. I think that he could have found better places, which is sad to say. We're going to learn today. Yeah, you're going to learn. Going to learn about this timeline. So a manhunt is underway. I hope we find out. I hope we're on a live when they find out who it is. It's been a while since we've been on a live and something's went down like that. A manhunt is underway for the man who fatally shot UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson Wednesday morning in what police believe was a targeted attack. The gunman shot Thompson outside a hotel in Midtown Manhattan before fleeing through the city. Police are using video surveillance to piece together the suspect's movements before and after the shootings Wednesday. Here's a visual timeline of the alleged gunman's movements before, during, and after the shooting. So 6:15 a.m. This is Wednesday, December the 4th. So yesterday. Very early in the morning. Surveillance camera image appears to show the suspect in the UnitedHealthcare CEO's murder leaving the 57th Street F train station before the shooting. So he gets off F train station. The image was recorded at 6:15 a.m. Investigators believe that the suspect may have taken a subway from the Upper West Side to Midtown. So right there, that tells me, like, they're already backtracking this guy. Like, I think that they're going to tell us a lot more in the next coming days. So 6:15 or 6:17 a.m. video at a nearby Starbucks shows the assailant buying a bottle of water and 2 energy bars roughly 30 minutes before the shooting. That right there, going into Starbucks, nearby Starbucks. At a nearby Starbucks. So he's in the Starbucks. So they usually take your name, even if it's for and water and 2 energy bars. They may take it. Like, why would you go to Starbucks? That sounds amateurish, doesn't it? To me, it sounds like amateur hour. But then some of the other things he does, it's kind of like, he's kind of smart. Like, I think he thought a lot of it through, but like some of the random things the mundane things that you may do in your everyday, maybe he didn't think about those. So it shows here the site of the shooting, if you can see this map. And then it goes, there's like little arrows that go upward. And the suspect fled north through a passageway to 55th Street. And then he went down and suspect got on a bike on 55th Street, then headed north on 6th Avenue. So straight. Suspect spotted at Starbucks before the shooting was here. And then he goes back by the Starbucks. So, he's already been there once, spotted there once, and he's going to go back by. And then he went back by, and that's when he was seen on Center Drive in Central Park. Now, I don't know if he ditched his clothes, changed his clothes. I'm assuming probably at least changed his clothes, changed his outfit, took his mask off, did all those things. I'm assuming he did all those before he, before he got back on his little motorized bike. Or he left the motorized bike in the park somewhere and he walked out. He could have done that too. So at 6:30, that's when surveillance video captures what appears to be the gunman on the phone. That's him there. I don't know if I go back up, it'll let me. Yeah. Actually, I think it just will go and repeat. But there he is. Look at this person right beside him. Didn't even realize it. Are they together? It's like almost like they're walking closely together, If this guy looks like he has some food, maybe he's just ready to get home. He's probably like, I'm just trying to get home and eat my breakfast, lady on the internet. Don't bring me into this. So at 6:44 a.m., that's when shit hits the fan. So it won't show the actual like shooting, but Thompson walked towards the Hilton. So Brian is the victim. He walked towards the Hilton after leaving his hotel across the street. The masked gunman was lying in wait outside the Hilton Midtown as Thompson made his way to the hotel to attend his company's annual investor conference, according to New York Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch. The gunman came up behind Thompson. So basically what happened was, you don't see it in here, but he is like standing there. He's waiting for him for like 5 minutes. And as Brian comes walking, down the sidewalk, he dips in between a couple cars. So Brian passes him. So he had every opportunity right there. Like, I think you can even see Brian look in the bottom left-hand corner, maybe. Right there. I don't know if he looks, it almost looks like he looks a little bit like he sees someone standing there. But that guy lets him go all the way down to there before he comes out and positions himself and shoots. You know what I mean? I don't know. With a witness right here, and look at this lady. She has no idea her world's about to be rocked. She's probably outside lighting a cig, I wonder if she saw the gunman or anything that she can, maybe she saw something on his hands. Maybe he has a tattoo of some sort. I don't know. Investigators told CNN that after the shooting, the assailant crossed the street from the Hilton, fled northbound through an alleyway between 54th Street and 55th Street, and got on an electric bike on 55th Street before heading north on 6th Avenue towards Central Park. And I think he had that battery to where he could hook it up and like rig this thing to go. Because I was looking up how you can pay. You can pay with like a prepaid debit card, but I'm not sure if it's one of those where it'll let you pay with like a vanilla prepaid debit card where there's no name, associated with it, or if it has to be like one of those debit cards where they print your name on it. That's the only thing I don't know. I don't think that we have those bicycles here either. Those little, we do downtown, like, they do downtown in like Dayton. I was in 2 cities today and I would have checked. But if you guys know, let me know. Because, so brazen. Yeah, Betty. Yeah. Could have been his. Yeah. Oh, is it a free bike? No, this was an e-bike, right? What? But it was an e-bike. Oh, Melvina, thank you. Okay, you guys are telling me, right? Okay, so so maybe that's why he took the battery out, because he didn't want someone to steal his e-bike. Like, you know what I mean? Like his motorized bike. And they probably don't want the motorized bike if it doesn't have the motor, right? So, okay, because I read somewhere that he had it. Now, I don't know, maybe that wasn't true. Maybe we'll read it again. But yeah, now I'm wondering. So 6:46, that's when patrol officers, so up here, what did it say? 6:44, that's when he's walking over here. And then at 6:46, patrol officers from Midtown North Precinct respond to a 911 call of a person shot in front of the Hilton Hotel on the Avenue of the Americas between West 53rd and West 54th. At 6:48, officers arrive. So like, man, that's quick. 2 minutes, they were there. And found Thompson on the sidewalk in front of the hotel and gunshot wounds to the back and leg. He was taken to the hospital by EMS. At 6:48, the suspect was seen riding an electric bike in Central Park. This is the last known sighting of the suspect, according to police. So is that the electric bike? So it's like electric bike? Gotcha. So it's not like, okay, I'm getting you. I'm picking up what y'all are putting down now. I just thought he just exchanged this. I don't know why. When I saw this, I thought he just got a new ride. But I understand now. Okay. Those little things can go fast. Video shows what appears to be the suspect on West 85th Street. Law enforcement tells CNN that they have seen the video and they think it's likely shows the gunman. And look at that trash. Can you imagine that? Wow. Thompson was pronounced dead at the hospital, according to police, at 7:12. So half hour. And then that's all for yesterday. So then Thursday today, December the 5th at 11:20, the NYPD released images taken at a hostel of an unmasked person of interest wanted for questioning in relation to the shooting. Officials have performed extensive video canvassing leading them to the hostel in Upper Manhattan, police told CNN. So that's what he looks like without his mask. That's him smiling. Look, like he's just, he reminds me of somebody. Yeah, I don't know. Employees told CNN they remembered a man at the hostel who wore a hooded jacket identical to the shooters and who almost never lowered his mask or hood. I mean, what's it going to tell? Your hair color? Like what length your hair is? I mean, you're a dude. You can shave your head bald if you wanted to. Like, I mean, really, you're not, I mean, people aren't going to look at you as much as if like a woman were to shave their head bald. Like, so that's kind of weird that he wouldn't let his hair, like, let him see his hair. Like, I mean, of all things. So, hey, dreaming of blue skies and sandy beaches. Me too. Every time I say your name, I'm like, let's go to the beach. Hey, Robbie. Welcome in, everybody. Hey, Sheba. When I'm reading, I can't see. Hey, Miss M. Hey, X. Every time I get up, I'm like, wait. Yeah, I heard that it was, it was real bad. He was doing some inky stuff. I think I actually have a thing up here from his wife. I might not have it. I might have taken it down. But his wife said that they were getting like threats and stuff beforehand. So, we'll start with this video though. Okay, let's go over to the poll. I'm going to close the poll. Okay. So 56 votes. We're going to go with timeline, Law and Order, and updates. Or Law and Crime. Sorry, Law and Order. Law and Order. That'd be funny if they did an episode of this. Law and Crime. So I'm going to end the poll. I don't know why I got Catherine up there. Did I accidentally? Yeah, I pinned your message. I was like, why did I didn't mean to do that. That's okay. I pinned your message. Actually, I should pin your guys' messages up there. I don't know if I can do it from here. No, I can't. I have to do it from my other screen. Hey, the Ruby Raven. Let me look. It looks like a yoga scarf that he's like wearing. Like, I don't have it in here, but I am like, if it was tied around and around and around, and you can hold like stuff in there, like it has like a zipper compartment. You could put like your phone, or I don't know what it's for, but I put my phone and stuff in it. But that's what it almost looks like, that material. So this video came out yesterday, and then they have another video that came out just a few hours ago. So I wonder if this is Sidebar with Jesse. Yeah. So we're going to listen to Jesse for a minute. And that's why I didn't play this, because we were going to listen to this. But this is the press conference was like, I think like 13 minutes long. So it wasn't very long. So we'll listen to it through them and see what they have to say about everything that's going on. And then we'll pause it here and there for commentary, because there are a lot of new things that are coming out, and I'm not sure if they'll talk about everything, but there are talks now that there was actual, like, on the bullet casings, there were words, defend, deny, depose, which come to find out are like linked to like a magazine or a book that went over like, people that weren't accepting insurance claims, and they were doing people dirty with insurance. So I think a lot of people are seeing this, like, and they're like, I don't know. they're thinking this is a good thing. And this is a human being. This is not a good thing. This is not a good thing. Now, do I think that this could be somebody's family member that needed some sort of medical, or the person that did it? Yeah, I do. I do think that. I do think that. I don't think that this was anybody that was like a professional hired hit. It could be a hired hit, but it's not professional in my opinion.
Many people passed the suspect, but he appeared to wait for his intended target.
The leader of a huge healthcare insurance company is dead, gunned down in what officials are calling a brazen targeted attack. And at the time of this recording, the suspect is still on the run. We are going to dig into everything we know so far about the murder of UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson on the streets of New York City. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Hey, before we get into this, I have to quickly thank our sponsor, Upside, for helping us to produce this episode. And Upside's awesome, by the way.
I'm going to start doing this, but I'm going to start doing it for my boutique. Make you guys sit through it. That'd be funny.
On every gallon on your first tank of gas. So this is just a shocker. This happened in our backyard here in New York because New York police say a masked man shot 50-year-old Brian Thompson in the back early Wednesday morning as he was just heading to a conference at the Hilton Hotel in Midtown Manhattan. You know what? I pass that area almost every week. This is a very highly populated area, tourists all over the place. The fact that this happened right there is just, again, shocking. Now, who was Thompson? He was the CEO of UnitedHealthcare. He was supposed to be attending an investor conference that was being put on by UHC's parent company, UnitedHealth Group. And as Thompson was approaching the hotel at around 6:45 a.m., and for those of you who don't know, in New York, that's the time that everybody's headed to work, NYPD says there's this masked man who had been apparently staking out the area for several minutes, approached Thompson from behind and started shooting. Thompson was hit at least once in the back and once in the leg. NYPD leadership says that it took officers only 2 minutes to respond to the scene, but by then the shooter had already taken off, first running away, then using an e-bike and heading into Central Park, which is nearby. And by the way, as we record this Wednesday afternoon, this is kind of breaking news for us, there is currently a manhunt underway for this suspect, and police are offering up to a $10,000 reward for information that leads to an arrest in this case. Now, we have a couple of surveillance photos of the suspect that have
only 10,000 still. I mean,
been
that's
released.
not a lot
and one
for a CEO of. I mean, he makes millions.
Shows him holding up the gun, pointing it,
They probably don't want
seemingly
the
at
family
Thompson.
giving any money.
Another shows him turning a corner, heading north away from the crime scene on that e-bike that I mentioned. And while police say they do believe that this was a targeted shooting, they have not revealed any sort of motive here. Now, Thompson was rushed to the hospital and he has died. This is a tragedy that came out of nowhere. So to talk about everything that we know so far about Thompson, the shooter, the investigation, I have a special guest right now I want to bring in. I want to bring in retired NYPD Detective Dave Sarney. Dave, thanks so much for coming on. And as I mentioned before we started, thank you so much for the work that you have done for this great city. My gosh, as I've said, I pass this area almost every week. When was the last time you saw a blatant shooting in Midtown Manhattan like this?
Thanks for having me. This type of shooting, this was planned, as you can tell, and we have it. I mean, this is as we've had shootings at Times Square that seem to be gelling from arguments or something like that. This was as brazen as you can do in the beginning of the rush hour of the area to see this shooting take place. It definitely is shocking to see. It is.
You mentioned something to me about the shift, about when officers have that shift, and this happens 6:45 in the morning, first thing in the morning. Talk to us about the shift for the police officers.
At times, I used to work what's called night watch for the detectives. The night watch is a tour from midnight to 8 a.m. And usually most of the bad things, unfortunately, happen around that 4 o'clock hour. Nothing good happens after 4 a.m. So when you hit that like 6:30, 7 o'clock time, you're looking to go home. And then that call comes in. And this is what we consider a heavy, in the sense that because It's Midtown. It's going to be a high profile case. So, all eyes are on this, and you're going to have to do the job as long as it takes to get it done. And one thing I have to say, detectives always do the best work they can, no matter how they.
I didn't see his hair. Oh my gosh. He does need it. He needs to check that out.
Hour is, no matter what day of the week, they're always out doing the best job they can. But Night Watch, boy, they were looking to go home. Not today, guys, unfortunately.
Not today. And let's talk about what we know in the lead up to this shooting. So according to the NYPD, they can see on surveillance cameras that the suspect was kind of milling around outside of the hotel for about 5 minutes before Thompson arrives. And Thompson, who's from Minnesota, where UnitedHealthcare is based, he was staying at a hotel across the street. So the NYPD says that he had been in New York since Monday, and the investors conference was scheduled to start at 8 a.m.
The shooter steps onto the.
So he was there for, what, 2 days? Wondering why he took so long. Why'd you stay at a hostel? Like, why stay at a hostel? You know what I mean? Risk being seen. I wonder if they picked this day and time. There was supposed to be like a bodyguard with him. Like there was supposed to be a bodyguard with him, and there wasn't. They're going to have to deal with that. The family's going to be suing the crap out of that insurance company, but they were supposed to have one with them. Nonetheless, they didn't have one. He gets shot and he gets killed. I wondered if, because he was going to that investor conference right then and there, if that was like the most impact that they thought that they could do.
Sidewalk from behind the car. He ignores numerous other pedestrians, approaches the victim from behind, and shoots him in the back. The shooter then walks toward the victim and continues to shoot.
But they still lived near each other, as she said. That's kind of weird.
It appears that the gun malfunctions as he clears the jam and begins to fire again. The shooter then flees on foot northbound into an alleyway between 54th Street and 55th Street. Once at West 55th Street, the shooter continues to walk westbound on Avenue of the Americas, where he gets onto an electric e-city bike and rides northbound on the Avenue of Americas towards Central Park.
Now, Dave, a few things I want to break down here. They say it was targeted. It seems to commit a shooting like this in this open area, a lot of witnesses, surveillance cameras. It almost seemed that, you would have to assume that the suspect here couldn't get Thompson in another area. Like, in other words, this was the only time he could get him alone. And also knowing his schedule, right? Knowing that he was going to be appearing for this event. That's what it seems. I think that's a fair guess, right?
Absolutely. There obviously is some planning to this. He knew the victim was going to be going somewhere. That conference was obviously well known to somebody. So we have to look at this, the perpetrator in the senses. How do you know the schedule? Not only how do you know the schedule, how do you know the location, what time he would be there? So that's the thing. He started earlier than most. You have a conference at 8 a.m. Usually don't see CEOs come to the conference so early. They might come a little bit later. The victim, unfortunately, had no security details, so he felt no threats available to him at the time, nothing present, at least in his mind. So no security for him. You're having to watch. I mean, this perp was there. He was there earlier, so he had an idea of what time he was going. Was anyone going to the hotel desk asking for him, or at least had an idea of the schedule? To know the victim is going to be there, there was obviously some planning that he already knew that he was going to be there at that time. And when you look at it, you're like, and that's why the detectives, you're like, why now? Why at this time? So why? And that's where you come in with that idea of, he gets him alone, but this is the best time to get him is by himself, crossing the street. And unfortunately, he shot there.
No. How bold is this? There was not even no hesitation. The gun seems to jam, and the shooter just fixes it and keeps on shooting.
Yeah, that's the thing.
At that point, you might as well, I
position
guess.
in which the leader is, it looks like he has some sort of training, some sort of understanding of how the firearm works, because you're not going to clear a jam. Very calm, cool, collected in that sense that you're going to clear the jam out after a shooting. A lot of times you're dealing with
most people, if you go hunting, about firearms. Someone
who's panicked. They may just take the gun and flee. But you're looking also how determined was the shooter to make sure that his target was killed or eliminated. And he tried to shoot him again.
And by the way, I wanted to ask you how difficult it is to process a crime scene in that kind of open urban area, because they responded
Yeah, I want
when
to know
officers
how he
responded
knew.
to the scene. They said they found 3 live 9mm rounds, 3 9mm shell casings, some evidence there. You have surveillance cameras. I imagine you have witnesses. What goes on into processing a scene like that? Is it difficult given that environment?
It can be difficult, but the benefit of the arrival on scene immediately, you're going to try to secure it as quick as possible. So that's why the crime scene tape will go up at the immediate
So he left live rounds.
area. Then you actually make when you make your crime scene, you're going to make it as large as possible, to
Bullet
try to make
casings were
sure
bad
that
enough.
you secure anything that might be forensically involved or probative evidence, such as the cell phone that they found. And the rounds, the one thing about it, it's early in the morning. There's not that many people available around in the street, so that may not be disturbed quickly. But in an environment, if there's more crowded, you might have a difficulty. But this was a little more situated early enough in the morning to do.
And by the way,
I think personally, it could be somebody that has a terminal illness. Maybe like that's just got diagnosed. You know what I mean? So where they're still able to function, but or they know somebody with a terminal illness to the point where they don't care what happens to them. I mean, if you're going to be that brazen, right? You've got to be able to have the mindset to go down with it, to go down with what you did, right? I would think. Oh, and speaking of Brian Koberger, I've been reading up about some stuff, and I need to talk to you guys about that sometime.
by the way, that is an area where there's office buildings, there's hotels, there are people about even at that time. And what we talk about, the suspect, I want to go into this a little bit more. He's described as a light-skinned male wearing what appears to be a dark gray sweatshirt with a distinctive gray backpack, although what exactly was distinctive about the bag wasn't specified. A cell phone, as you mentioned, was recovered from the alley he apparently ran into. Police are still investigating whether it is related to this shooting, and officers are reviewing camera footage to not only figure out where the shooter went after firing the shots, but also where he came from. And when it comes to that e-bike that I mentioned, investigators say that the company does have GPS locators on the bike so they can be tracked. It's just not clear how far the suspect may have gone before potentially ditching that getaway vehicle. 2 things I want to ask you about that, Dave. Are you surprised he was able to escape? I mean, the response time from police was 2 minutes, so that's great.
That's
but
crazy
are you
great.
surprised this suspect was able to get away so quickly?
Within a 2-minute time frame, you're responding to the scene. So sometimes officers who are responding, and we try to do this, is actually delay a response. Once you have an immediate response and somebody arriving on scene, you want to start canvassing once you have to identify the suspect. So I don't know what the radio run had as far as a suspect out there, so they would start canvassing immediately. But what you're dealing with are the shots fired, individual injured, so you're going to respond to the scene as quickly as possible. They did. Within that time frame, by the time the 911 call comes in, the response gets there an extra 2 minutes or so. That person could be out in the wind within that 2-minute time frame. And that's why you create a tertiary perimeter later on as you get there, to see if you get someone who's a witness who can clearly identify, or at least identify clothing.
Let me ask you this. At the time of this recording, they haven't caught the suspect. Chances they'll be able to catch him relatively quickly, considering, you have to wonder, is this person even still in New York? What are the different ways they could have gotten out of the city? And talk to me. The city's quite large. So talk to me about what you think the success rate will be in actually apprehending this individual.
Well, you have to look at what he did. Apparently, he went into Central Park. At the time, Central Park, you're going to have an extensive canvas. He had a knapsack on him. Was that knapsack containing clothing, which he could change into? What else was on him that he already afforded that escape? He gets an e-bike. I'm probably gonna think he either ripped it out of the well. I don't think he put his credit card in to get it. But once you lose once you lose the vehicle, which is the bike, he goes into the park. Now you have to look at where in the park he went, and you're gonna have to again do an extensive video canvas around the park to see where he exited from. And not only that, is he in a change of clothing? Because that's a concern also. If this is a person who's a professional individual, even not as professional as we may, it all depends on, what we consider professional. He had a bag with him. Was that bag containing clothes and materials that will allow him to escape and change his clothes? We've seen that happen in the past where perpetrators have a change of clothing. They'll wear something underneath, get rid of it. So that's one aspect. But I will tell you this, the Detective Bureau, the NYPD, all hands on deck on this. It's a high-profile investigation, high-profile homicide. They're going to.
Dogs would be able to sniff him out, right? From the bullet casings, maybe? Like, he touches them. They might have his scent on him.
Do the best they can with what they got.
By the way, the chief of detectives reiterated at a news conference that they don't yet have or know a motive here, but police sources told the New York Times that Thompson, he had recently received threats. The exact nature of those threats are unknown, and Thompson's wife, Paulette, told NBC News that her husband had mentioned that there were some people that had been threatening him. She also told NBC News that while she didn't have any details about that, there may have been issues connected to insurance coverage. Again, he was a very high-profile individual in this sense. Investigators said that they were searching Thompson's hotel room, speaking with his colleagues to try to get any more information about any possible dangers. But that goes back to the conversation. He didn't have private security with him. I'm sure that will be a question that comes up if he really was receiving some sort of threats, why that wasn't the case. And by the way, let me couple that. There was a reporter at the news conference who even asked if Thompson was traveling with any sort of security detail, and the police said he wasn't. So what do you make of that, Dave? If there were threats, but not enough to warrant security, it does become a question of how...
I've heard that they did warrant security.
You know, and we don't know, again, what the motive is, what's going on here. But assuming it is connected to such threats and no security, what do you take away from that?
Well, we could look at it this way, where the victim did not think the threats were valid. No one else thought they were valid, at least in his mind or in his company. So he thought it was all right to be traveling on his own. Primary responsibility is going to be apprehending the suspect. Once you identify a suspect, identify him, arrest him, then we could look at the motive. And I'll tell you now, you have people in the field on a search, and you also have detectives going through his background, social media, anything along the lines that would be determined a threat. So there's going to be a very extensive investigation on many angles. So we're not just looking at the apprehension is one aspect, but we're going to have detectives working on the possible motives, which may identify the person that they're looking for.
Let me just put a bow on this. So not surprisingly, UnitedHealth Group had canceled the investors conference, with the parent company's CEO announcing that there was a very serious situation going on, that they would be needing to end the event. And Brian Thompson, he had been CEO of UnitedHealthcare since 2021. He had worked within the company for 20 years. According to his LinkedIn page, Thompson had previously overseen the Medicare and retirement arms of the company, as well as government programs, before
That's what I thought,
being made or appointed to chief executive officer. And the Minnesota Star Tribune reports that Thompson, he was survived now by his wife and two sons, one in high school, another who recently graduated. A really sad, tragic situation. And
okay, I thought his kids were younger. I didn't know. This is the first time I'm hearing ages. So I mean, every family's different, you know? So the wife, because they're not exes yet. They're still calling her like his wife. So she lives close by him because they wanted to be able to like co-parent the kids. How long they've been divorced? I mean, if one of them's out of high school, and that means he has to be 17, 18 years old. The other one's in high school. You would think that she could move far, far away if she wanted to. Or, you know what I mean? Or stay close to be with her boys. But you know what I mean? Like, they didn't need to be that close if they were older in age. I was thinking his kids were going to be younger in age for some reason, even though he was 50. I don't know why I was thinking that.
UnitedHealthcare's parent company released
I didn't know how old they were
after Thompson's death, saying, "We are deeply saddened and shocked at the passing of our dear friend and colleague, Brian Thompson, the CEO of UnitedHealthcare. Brian was a highly respected colleague and friend to all who worked with him. We are working closely with the New York Police Department and ask for your patience and understanding during this difficult time. Our hearts go out to Brian's family and all who were close to him."
Well, that sounds heartfelt.
Dave, one more thing I wanted to mention about this.
Hey,
this is New York City. How tough is it for someone to bring a gun in and commit a shooting like this?
We've seen the police department take almost 2,000 guns off the street as of this year. Having a gun in New York is not unusual. You have to realize there are bad people out there. There's good people with firearms who are legally owning it, and then you have those who illegally own it. I have to take it back to the victim. Sometimes when detectives do their work, our primary responsibility, primary goal at the time is to apprehend the shooter and to make an arrest and then develop a case with that. But I don't think anyone loses sight of the victim and the family. This is during the holiday season, a tragic circumstance. We don't know the mindset of the perpetrator at this time, but I will tell you, guns are available in New York City. It's not difficult to receive one, not difficult to retrieve one. Ghost guns, stolen guns, it's not that difficult. But realize this, the work that police do to try to do their best and try their best to keep the citizens in New York City safe, those who visit and those who reside here, is paramount as a mission. The detectives will work tirelessly to find the perpetrator that did this, to get him into custody and develop the case to make sure that the prosecution is to the fullest extent. So that's one thing we'll do. Guns will be out there, but you know what? Detectives do their job, and they will do the best job they can with what they do.
And as a lifelong New Yorker, I will say NYPD is some of the best out there. I know this is a difficult case for them. I know this is a difficult case for all, and just a really, really shocking and upsetting situation that, again, came out of nowhere. Our hearts and prayers go out to Brian's family, and we will continue to follow this and see where it goes. Dave Sarney, again, thank you so much for taking the time and breaking it down for us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Oh, I love long crime, and when they're when they got like a new case, like a dog with a new bone, because they will cover the crap out of it. They haven't quite done that yet with this one, but they've done 2 stories, but they haven't done too many. So, but moving right along over here, I wanted to show you guys this article here that I was reading this earlier. I read so many articles and watched so much stuff over this. I was on the walking pad for 40 minutes, just walking along, reading along, listening along. And that was not all the time I was sitting. But I enjoy the walking. It's definitely helps me stay more focused. So how the NYPD is analyzing surveillance video to identify Brian Thompson's killer. So New York City police are analyzing surveillance videos to track and identify the assailant who shot and killed UnitedHealth CEO Brian Thompson in a targeted attack outside a Midtown Manhattan hotel Wednesday morning. Thompson, 50, who was shot 3 times from behind by a masked gunman who waited several minutes for Thompson to walk by the Hilton Hotel, where the company was hosting an investor conference. The shooter's motives remain unknown. In a massive manhunt, police are reviewing images from public and private cameras to determine the gunman's movements before and after the shooting. Police released images on Thursday. Now, I bet you they get so many images. They probably have cameras everywhere. Like, not just talking, police cameras and stuff like that, but bodegas, shops, homes, little businesses, like lawyers' offices, like office buildings like that. They're all going to have cameras. So someone's going to have them on camera. It might just take him a couple extra days to figure out who he is, because maybe he changed his clothes or something, I don't even think it'll take that long. I don't think it will. Thompson, 50, who was shot, in a massive manhunt. I already read that too. Here's the timeline of what we know. All times are approximate. So tracking the shooter's movements, and then it just shows where the shooting was. So at 5 a.m., a surveillance video records the shooting suspect outside the Frederick Douglass House, 2 public housing buildings at 830 Amsterdam Avenue on New York's Upper West Side. ABC News reports the suspect appears to be carrying a battery for an e-bike. At 6:17 a.m., cameras inside a Starbucks at West 56th Street and 6th Avenue, 2 blocks from the hotel, record the suspect at a counter. Though his face is partially hidden, police are using facial recognition technology to try to identify him. Oh my gosh, if that works, that stuff's just too much. That's too much. If they can get him by just his eyes, oh man. So, suspect exits the subway. He visits the Starbucks. This is before the shooting. The suspect is spotted wearing a hood, mask, and backpack at a Starbucks on the corner of West 56th and 6th Avenue. At 6:39, the suspect arrives at New York Hilton Hotel at 237 West 54th Street in Manhattan. Police believe the suspect knew which door Thompson planned to use and the time of his arrival. A video shows the suspect ignoring passerby and making a phone call outside the hotel. At 6:44 a.m., the video shows Thompson walking across the street from his hotel to the Hilton. And then this is how the shooting unfolds, just in case you're coming in late. And then we'll listen to another video really quick. Surveillance video shows Thompson being shot outside the hotel. The shooter approaches him from behind and fires into his back and leg at close range. A woman a few feet from Thompson runs away as the shooter appears to clear a jam in the gun before stepping closer to Thompson, who is on the ground, and firing again. That's when he's leaves the Starbucks. That's when he shoots Brian. The shooter runs across West 54th Street and through a pedestrian passageway near the Ziegfeld Ballroom, 141 West 54th Street. He emerges on West 55th Street. In the passageway, police find a phone and a water bottle that may have been purchased at the Starbucks. Ooh. So I wonder if in that passageway he was digging in that bag of his to either get out the battery pack or to change clothes. But and I'm wondering if that's how the water bottle and the phone fell out. At 6:47, police respond to a 911 call about the shooting. Police later find 3 bullet casings inscribed with the words "Deny, Defend, Depose." Those words are similar to a 2010 book titled "Delay, Deny, Defend" by Jay Finman, which says health insurers deny customer claims to increase profits, according to the New York Times. That's sad. At 6:48 a.m., police report the shooting suspect is seen riding an electric bike on the Center Drive path into Central Park. And that's at 6:48 a.m. I mean, he's working fast. That's 30 minutes after he, shoots Thompson. So at 7:12 a.m., Thompson is pronounced dead at Mount Sinai West Hospital in New York. That's where my old doctor works. Wow. Police have released several images of the shooter in which the gunman can be seen wearing a dark-colored jacket with a hood over his head, a black face mask, black and white sneakers, and a distinctive gray backpack. And I thought those sneakers were distinctive because they had the white stripe on them. Law enforcement is using a number of cameras to identify the shooter. New York expanded its surveillance systems after 9/11 with aid from the federal government, the New York Times says. Whew. They're going to get you. They're going to find you. The NYPD on Thursday released new surveillance images of a person they described as a person of interest wanted for questioning in the shooting. The new photos show a person wearing a hooded jacket and a black backpack, which does not appear to be the same gray backpack the shooter wore while carrying out the shooting early Wednesday morning. That does look like a different backpack. So when was this taken, I wonder? Wonder if he had 2 bags. One at like the hostel. Maybe he kept a bag there, but he never went back. I don't know. Police have announced a reward up to, well, they would probably say that if they had the bag, for information leading to the arrest and conviction of the shooter. So maybe he had the bag and he threw the old bag away, the gray bag, and he kept this bag. This bag looks like it could be like more, I don't know, like squished down compared to that one he had. See if we can find it on here, right here. This one looks kind of boxier. It looks fuller here almost. Maybe it's just the angle. Okay, so Law and Crime came out with a new video just a few hours ago. It says police say they're getting closer to identifying the man who laid in wait for Brian Thompson. So let's see what they have to say about that. These are going to be 15 new details in manhunt for United Healthcare CEO killer's murder, or for the killer, sorry. And if you guys don't mind hitting the like button for me, that'd be greatly appreciated. And thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you guys being here tonight. I really do. Thank you guys. This is a new case, so I'm hoping that they find the shooter pretty quick, but we're going on, what, 2 days? It'll be 2 days tomorrow. That's not that long. I'm wondering if this lady saw anything. I don't think she did, because she was turned the other way. She wasn't even looking in that direction, Man, that's sad.
Casings found at the scene of just a brazen shooting in Midtown Manhattan reportedly had the words "deny, defend, and depose" written on them, according to police sources who spoke to ABC News. And new surveillance photos may give us a better look at the potential shooter. New details are flooding in about the apparent assassination of UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson, and we're going to bring you the very latest on this investigation right now. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. Jesse Weber. Okay, so at the time of this recording, as this is a rapidly developing story, law enforcement may be getting closer to identifying the man who walked up behind the CEO of UnitedHealthcare as he was just walking to the Hilton Hotel in Midtown Manhattan and shot him in the back. And while he was on the ground, that is what police sources have told ABC News. You see, at the time of this recording on Thursday afternoon, a senior law enforcement official has told the New York Times that authorities have a picture of the suspected shooter's face from inside a hostel that he was staying in Manhattan. It's called the HI New York City Hostel. Now, according to the New York Times, the shooter reportedly shared a room with two men with whom he didn't know. Now, to be more precise, Crime Stoppers released these new photos of what some outlets are saying is the suspect. NYPD had said earlier on that this was just a person of interest, but they show this person's face. And they were reportedly taken from inside that hostel. The exact date when it was taken, we don't know. But in one photo, and it's kind of eerie, this person seems to have a big grin. A $10,000 reward is being offered for information that could lead to an arrest in this case. And Crime Stoppers flyers have been posted all over the city. 50-year-old Brian Thompson went down after multiple shots were fired. He was shot at least once in the leg, once in the back. Now, surveillance video from outside the Hilton Hotel shows the gun seeming to jam during the shooting, but the shooter just quickly clears it and keeps on shooting. And then he walks away from the scene before hopping on an e-bike, disappearing into Central Park. Now, we're going to get into a lot of details about this, and to focus a little bit more about it, I want to bring back on Chad Ayers, former deputy, founder of Proactive Response Group, to talk about this. Chad, good to see you. Thanks so much for coming here on studio. Just your initial thoughts on this, because we haven't had a chance to speak about it yet.
No, I mean, disturbing. Obviously, I flew in this morning. I'm staying a block away. When this news broke yesterday, I was just in shock. I mean, condolences to the family of this gentleman. But when I finally saw the video of it actually taking place, it literally looked like something off of a Netflix film that you see, like a hired hit. I think it's pretty evident by now, Jesse, this was not a random act, I would not say.
Not at all.
And I would not be surprised if, with the photo that's already been released of this person of interest, I have a feeling law enforcement, NYPD, already probably knows who this is. But obviously, they want to keep this investigation, as secure as possible until they apprehend this.
But isn't it good to get that photo out so more people could see it?
100%. And that's what what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, a friend or a family member, this photo is circulating
instinctively.
Yeah.
100%.
Someone is looking at that saying, "Oh my God, that's my boy. Look at my boy's smile." And then they're listening to the rest of it and they're like, "What?" Like, really? I mean, unless you don't have a TV.
I mean, they know who he is. Someone knows who he is. Someone's going to, do the right thing, I hope, and let's get a name and let's bring this guy in.
There were so many aspects about this shooting, just taking it at first glance from yesterday. comes out of nowhere, fires the weapon in a very, very calculated manner, doesn't shoot a nearby bystander, which we'll talk about too, and is able to escape in such an urban environment like this. Can't find him yet. It seemed professional. It seemed like this is not his first time. And yet, if it's true that he takes off the mask, knowing there's surveillance footage in this hostel, that feels sloppy.
Well, does it say, was the mask taken off before? Is this photo from the hostel before or after? Do we know?
I believe it's from before, and we just don't know when it was from before.
Sure.
Yeah.
In 2024, with today's,
He went to the hostel on Monday, so it could have been like Monday, Tuesday that was taken. Looks like he's way more relaxed.
DNA, digital evidence, cameras all across this city. It's really hard to get away with crime like this. So was he sloppy? Yes. Leaving shell casings because people don't think about this. When I'm loading around, what's on my
Touching
finger,
it.
as I'm loading my magazine, there's trace DNA being put on those shell casings that are left at the scene. They
He's going Brian Kohlberger his own butt.
talked about him going into a Starbucks and also getting like a granola bar or something too.
I'll talk about that.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. They're searching that hostel, or they're working on getting warrants for the hostel, and also probably interviewing those men that he was staying with.
I got
What
one of
goes
the
into
interviews.
that? Because again, you need to work fast in a case like this, right? And it makes me wonder what goes into processing a scene like that. What goes into speaking to those individuals?
So I've never stayed at a hostel. I don't know what kind is any type of identification required to get in there. I'm going to try to build a profile.
I don't know if they're going to say this or not, but he used a fake ID from New Jersey, I believe it was from.
Who is this individual? How long has he been staying there? Has he had communication with anybody else? Has anyone come to visit him? Obviously, where did this gun come from? But first and foremost, they're going to try to figure out, where's this guy from? Does he have friends or family here in the city? If you're staying in a hostel, I would say probably not. So is this guy traveling in for this, murder per se? There's a lot that's going on, but NYPD has some of the best investigators in the world.
By the way, we're going to try to stay on top of the story as much as we can. And for that, I have to thank our sponsor, Odoo, who helped make this episode happen. And with their account, repetitive.com/LC, he's able to escape with 7 and try Odoo for free right now. And
okay, I just have one thing to complain about. Jesse Weber, look at the plant. Look at the plant. Look at the fake artificial plant on this little chintzy table. This is law and crime. You guys, what is going on here? Get yourself a real plant or at least a fake tree. We got to do something about this, Jesse.
How difficult.
That's not inviting to me. Where's your drink at for your guest?
Would it
Where's
be
your
to
guest
escape
drink?
New York City? Big question for the
You
last
talking about
24
drink?
hours is he's able to escape in an urban area, especially since the law enforcement responded in 2 minutes. Could he take a bus? Could he take a train? How quickly could he escape the city? Or is he still in the city? It's a massive city. What's your take on that?
The initial getaway is not very hard. Being on an e-bike, 6:45 in the morning. Obviously, Jesse, you're from this area.
Yeah, I pass that area all the time, by the way.
How many people at 6:45, 7 in the morning are on those streets heading to work?
It's
you blend in very easily.
I said this before. That area filled with tourists. It's tons of office buildings, people going to work there. There are people out and about there.
And even wearing the mask. In this city, as cold as it is, having a full type of ski mask on, that's really not going to raise many people's suspicions. Yep. Now, getting out of the city, again, if he had planned this out, then he probably already knew exactly how. If he is gone, he knew exactly what means of transportation. Is he working by himself? Did he have help? Did whoever hire him to do this? Those are all these questions that need to be built around this. But I think you better bet that obviously all, TSAs being notified, bus, Greyhounds, all these trains using types of, facial recognition features. I don't want to go too much into, the technology that may be used because I don't want to jeopardize this case.
So let me further this a little bit. So according to reporting from Yahoo News and the Washington Post, this suspected shooter exits Manhattan's 57th Street subway station for the F train at around 6:15 a.m. And the suspect's clothing on that surveillance matches the images from the NYPD that were released. Then, about 2 minutes later, the suspect is inside of a Starbucks on 6th Avenue. By the way, I've been in that Starbucks before. I'm just saying this. I know this environment. I get it. And then he goes to the scene of the attack, where that Starbucks is not far away from there. And it's apparently he goes there and is waiting a few minutes before Thompson comes outside and is walking past the Hilton Hotel. And
I mean, does he take the time to drink his water and eat his protein bars, or like what's up with that? I'm thinking that the protein bars and the water was for after. Like maybe he thought he was going to be shaking like a leaf or something. I don't know. Blood sugar, think he thought his blood sugar was going to be going down or something, but
and the ease
I mean, he should have just got a coffee.
with which
Put your
the
name on
shooter
it.
appears to just lie in wait for Brian Thompson, fires, escapes. It has many people wondering if this was a professional hit. And another bizarre detail that points to there being more to this than just a random act of violence is that the shell casings found at the scene, as I mentioned, reportedly had words written on them. So 2 law enforcement officials told the New York Times that while ballistics testing is still ongoing, the words depose, deny, and defend were found on the casings. And that is significant because there was a book released in 2010 with a very similar title, Delay, Deny, Defend. And that book argues that health
It's on the
insurers
phone
like
before.
UnitedHealthcare, they try to increase their profits by having claims departments deny claims, even if they're supposed to be covered under the person's insurance policy. And that's important.
Do any of y'all have United Health Care? Anybody have United Health Care that wants to, like, I mean, don't just say like me, I do, but like if you do, just be like, I know somebody that does. I don't know. I really want to know, like, from somebody personally that does have this insurance, if they're really as terrible as everyone is making them out to be, or if they're just as terrible as every insurance company. Do you know what I mean? Because they're all terrible. It's just like, is this the most terrible? I mean, now Blue Cross Blue Shield, they're only going to give you anesthesia for a certain amount of hours now. So that's pretty mean if you ask me. Like that's a different company, but they are doing that now. You have a 3-hour surgery, maybe you only get covered for an hour and a half of anesthesia. I said, my doctors better work faster. Like, I don't know. I don't know what to tell people. I can't afford anesthesia. That's the most expensive part about a surgery.
Important as we're trying to
Literally.
figure out what could be the potential motive behind this killing. Now, the New York Times reached out to the author of that book, J.M. Feynman. He's a professor emeritus at Rutgers Law School. Our understanding is he declined to come.
Have they ever like said, no, we're not doing that for you?
Comment.
Man.
Chad, those words are so strange, and it makes you wonder, A, oh my gosh, does this give us a motive into what's happening here? Versus B, could this be throwing investigators off?
That's what I think.
That's what you think.
Again, there's so many different avenues to look at this case, and so
I think they're all kind of bad sometimes,
many theories that we can dive into here. I personally think that is there to throw somebody off. I think someone, at the end of the day, it will, what we've said from the beginning, someone is using this guy to do this. They coached him. They told him how to do this. Who knows? I may be wrong, and this guy planned all this out alone. Earlier yesterday, though, Jesse, they discussed, we just reported that, with the new timestamps, he was only there a few minutes before. Early yesterday, it said he had staked the place out for a while. This guy's done his homework. He obviously has, if this is truly a targeted hit, he knew this guy's pattern and routine, or knew that.
How? Someone had to have known what his routine was, or he studied him and had some inside information, right? How did he know he was leaving? I think Thompson was staying in a different hotel and was headed towards the Hilton. How did he know he was going at that point?
Well, I think we discussed there was some type of event he was going to that hotel.
Yeah, he was going to an investors conference.
So an investors conference, you know how these conferences go. There's a usually an agenda sheet.
Sure.
A lot of websites even post, hey, our keynote speakers are this, that, and the other.
How did he know he was going to be crossing that street?
Correct. So how long, and I don't know when this gentleman flew into town, when the CEO flew into town and got here, where's he originally from? Is he from this area?
So let me go a little bit further, give everybody a little bit of background about Brian Thompson. So Brian Thompson had been the CEO of UnitedHealthcare since 2021. He'd been with the company for 20 years. By the way, he previously had overseen departments dealing with Medicare and government programs. This is according to his LinkedIn page. And UnitedHealthcare is based in Minnesota, which is where Thompson had lived with his wife and 2 sons. He had traveled to New York for, as I mentioned, this investors conference that was hosted by the parent company, UnitedHealth Group. That conference was at the Hilton. But Thompson, as I mentioned, was staying in this hotel across the street, and he was walking to the Hilton at around 6:45 a.m. Wednesday morning when he was ambushed. And surveillance shows that the gunman, again, waited around several minutes before Thompson got there, didn't seem interested in any of the other passers, people that were passing by. But when Thompson walks past, the gunman steps out from behind a car, doesn't miss a beat, and just fires. And we can see from surveillance images that he was wearing this dark colored hoodie, a face mask, a gray backpack, and the gun that he was holding appeared to have a silencer on it, but police didn't confirm that during a news conference in the hours after the shooting.
It is kind of weird. Okay, because 6:45, 6:46 in the morning is kind of a weird time. You know what I mean? It's not, it's right across the street. So let's say the conference started at 7 o'clock. Why didn't he cross the street at 5 till? Do you know what I mean? How did that gunman know that he was going to be crossing that street 15 minutes beforehand to get there early? Like, that's, to me, that's what it seems like. You know what I mean? Like, if that was me, I would be waking up and running across the street with 1 minute to spare, But I hate waking up that early. But I'm thinking, like, he had to have been waiting there for at least a few minutes, at least 5 minutes, at least 5, I would think. And I wonder when he left the Starbucks.
I'll get into the person that was standing nearby. But first, by the way, the firearm. Again, going back to this idea of a professional hit, would it be normal that the gun jams?
So I've watched this video several times. I cannot tell if the gun jammed. Obviously, everyone saw the suppressor, which a lot of people from TV calls a silencer.
Yeah.
I know that, and again, I'm not a ballistics expert. I'm not some big firearms expert, basic knowledge from law enforcement. But I do know when a suppressor is put on a firearm, a lot of times you have to put a different type of, what we used to call like a plus P round, a little bit hotter of a round, to make sure the gases, it has enough pressure to cycle the slide, eject the spent shell casing. So did that gun, was it not cycling enough to eject the spent shell casing? Again, I'm not trying to dive into this too deep, because the first time you watch it through, you think this looks like an amateur, someone who thinks that on a semi-automatic handgun, I have to rack it every time. Right. Obviously you do. You put your magazine in initially, you rack that first round in the chamber. Right. After that, I pull the trigger and it automatically does its job. It's a machine. So when I watched it, I thought, well, this guy, there's no way.
I thought it was a revolver.
This looks like an amateur. He keeps racking the slide every single time. Because before it got released that the words were on the bullets,
that's probably what it was,
on the shell casings. My first thought, because of this guy's background working in government healthcare, I thought, is this possible that this guy worked for the VA or had a high ranking, and this is some type of upset, former military guy that is upset with the services from the VA. But when we see the book and that title and how it ties to healthcare, that kind of puts that out the window.
How tough is it to get us, if it really was a suppressor, if it really was a silencer, how tough is that to get? Either, let me rephrase, legally or on the black market, and to get it into New York City?
Legally, it's all online now. It's gotten a little bit easier. There used to be upwards and almost a year to wait for your background, and it has, the FFL you had to get, or the tax stamp has to be shipped to an FFL, federal firearms license. You have to get this tax stamp. Again, there's a lot to it. Off the streets, off the black market, not hard at all. And look, New York City has some very strict gun laws, but
we have tons of gun crimes.
We have tons of gun crimes.
So I mentioned this person who was standing outside of the Hilton within just a few feet of the suspect when the shooting started. They immediately took off. I mean, first it looked like they were shocked, obviously. Then they take off, and the shooter didn't pay any attention to them. I watched the video. I don't see the shooter really even react to that person. That person's lucky to be alive. So again, if this was just somebody who was killing anybody they could see in their vicinity, you would think that person would be dead. That's what makes this also look like a targeted hit. But I hate to be callous. I'm not trying to be callous, but you left a witness there who was the clearest person to you at the crime, an eyewitness. Do you find it strange that that person wasn't?
No,
thankfully that person wasn't, but
no, actually on Monday I was teaching a class on de-escalation, but part of that class talked about characteristics of an attacker.
Yeah.
And a characteristic of an attacker is that 1,000-yard stare. They get tunnel vision, right? So you basically black out anything that's around you and you're like, there's my target. And it's subconscious. You don't realize you're doing it. A lot of times you'll get this gaze. You're blinking. The average person, I forget, blinks, I think like 20 times a minute or something like that. Someone that's about to commit a crime, it speeds up to close to 120 times a minute, or it has dropped down to 3 to 4 times a minute. So the body reacts different during stressful encounters. And obviously that's, I think, what happened. Targeted attack. The suspect's thinking, hey, I see him. I shot him. Now I got to get the hell out of here.
I have to ask you, if this was targeted,
I didn't mean to
this
cough
was an
into the mic.
assassination, why do it then? What do I mean by that? This is New York City. This is an urban environment. There are cameras everywhere. There are people everywhere. 6:45 is not 4 a.m. Okay. You do it there.
Make a statement, I think.
You have to imagine there's a strong likelihood that you would be captured. And it's a really brazen attack in the open. Is this just an attack of opportunity? I know where he's going to be. This is the only time he'll be by himself. Don't you find it strange that of all places to kill Brian Thompson, it's at that moment on that street?
I think that was done on purpose. I'll say it again. I think that was done on purpose. I said 3 times now. That was done on purpose because he was going into that conference, I bet. I mean, because why not just take him out in Minnesota where there's like they said, no cameras really. I mean, you could be, I mean, there's other ways to do it, not in the middle of Manhattan.
At that time.
Again, I think we're going to get more on the background of this, of what kind of surveillance was done on him, when this guy is apprehended, when he's apprehended. He will be apprehended. But criminals are criminals for a reason.
Him smiling like that.
They make mistakes too. But I think he saw his opportunity at 6:40 and 5 a.m. He knew that he had a better chance of getting away when it's still dark outside. He's not following him inside this investors conference or event where you've got, I don't know, however many people were inside a busy hotel. So there was his opportunity, and he took it when the least amount of people were away. So again, talking about characteristics of an attacker, a lot of times they'll do a target glance and they'll be scanning. They're scanning for cameras and they're scanning for people. But again, when he made his mind up that he was going to commit this attack, he did it, and he got on his bike and got the heck out.
Let's talk about the bike, because after cutting through an alley, apparently, the shooter gets on an e-bike, which they originally identified as a city bike. And there are kiosks and bike racks. They're set up all around the city. On Wednesday, though, Lyft, which operates city bikes, said that police told them the gunman did not use a city bike. NYPD has yet to clarify that. There's also been some investigation into whether the shooter had the bike already staged somewhere so that he could just grab it and take off.
I think he did.
Now, in addition to 3 spent 9mm shell casings and 3 live.
I mean, why would they say in another timeline that he had a battery before the shooting for one of those e-bikes?
9mm rounds that were found at the scene. Police apparently also found a cell phone that had been dropped in the alley that the suspect had ran through. There was also a water bottle and a candy bar or power bar wrapper that were also found.
Oh, again, that's his.
That may have been purchased from that Starbucks that we mentioned.
This idiot. Is he really going to be taken down by a water bottle? Doing all that planning for
those images of him in the.
And then we'll hear about the Google searches. I like the Google searches because they all do them.
Starbucks wearing the mask are what were released too. And ABC News reported that DNA and fingerprint testing is being done on all of that as well. Chad, your thoughts on that?
Well, 3 spent shell casings and 3 live rounds.
Yep.
Where did the 3 live rounds come from?
Tell me.
Every time he
racks it.
A live round is coming out.
You're right,
so again,
Squeaky.
That's why I cannot figure out, was the gun jamming or was he an amateur? And he is, because if I'm going to hire a professional hitman, you damn well better make sure you know how to operate a firearm. And someone who is just racking it. So again, we're not.
And 3 shots shouldn't know. 1 shot and you're done. If you're a hitman, I would think.
I'm going to know. At this time, was the gun actually malfunctioning, or was he just an amateur racking each of those rounds out? But talking about the DNA,
yeah,
here we have it.
Well, I also find it interesting that he allegedly bought those items right before the shooting to give him literally energy. If he's going to be on the run, right, he's probably not going to know when he can have his next meal, where his next meal will be, maybe needs the energy before he's about to engage in such an effort like this. Am I wrong about thinking about that?
No, I think
No.
what he is thinking is my mask is covering me up. He is solely relying on that
I
mask.
don't
Yep.
believe that.
And
I
again,
don't believe that's why he bought. No. Jesse, you're only going to buy 2 granola bars and a bottle of water if you don't know when your next meal is going to be. No, he bought it for I think for afterwards. I don't think it was to give him energy. I think it was for like after, but maybe he did eat it beforehand because it was in the pathway. There was one like wrapper. So maybe he ate one, drank some of the water, was saving the other one, or maybe he ate both of them. But I thought he would eat them afterwards to kind of like maybe calm his nerves a little.
not thinking about DNA and trace evidence being left. It almost reminds me, Jesse, of what we talked about, last year, the Brian Kohlberger case.
Yeah.
And how they discovered pulling trash from his parents' house when he made it home and pulled the DNA off of a Coke can.
Yeah.
That's how, a lot of was discovered.
You saw the photos in this case, even the masked photos. If you look at it, if you look at the masked photos, which again, I think were taken from the Starbucks, you compare it to the photos of the unmasked person. They look like the same person, in my opinion.
Very distinct characteristics on this gentleman.
Yeah.
Or on the suspect. I don't even want to call him a gentleman. On the suspect, he's got very distinct characters and facial features. With this photo now being released and circulated, the U.S. Marshals are on this, I guarantee it, with NYPD's Marshals Task Force.
And I have one other question
Sure.
I wanted to ask you about this. So Thompson's wife, Paulette, told NBC News that her husband had mentioned that there were some people that had been threatening him. And she told NBC News that while she didn't have any details, there may have been issues that were connected to his work, insurance coverage. Paulette released a statement about her husband's death, saying Brian was an incredibly loving, generous, talented man who truly lived life to the fullest, touched so many lives. Most importantly, Brian was an incredibly loving father to our 2 sons and will be greatly missed. And just comes back to the human element, the fact that this is just a shocking crime, and think about who's left behind. Now, NYPD leadership told reporters on Wednesday that Thompson, he wasn't traveling with any sort of security detail, but this shooting, first of all, has got a lot of people spooked because the New York Times is reporting that dozens of lead security officers from Fortune 500 companies, they all around the world, they hopped on this video call Wednesday afternoon to talk about protective measures. That can include everything from investigating threats that are made in online forums and on social media to security team members physically protecting executives as they do to their day-to-day business. But Chad, if he was receiving threats, don't you find it odd that he didn't have a security detail with him?
So obviously in my background, we do executive protection. I've had the opportunity to protect a lot of political figures, musicians, high net worth families. And it is surprising that this gentleman, a source of mine, let me know this morning, actually, as soon as I landed, that he has had a security detail in the past. Thompson has had a security detail in the past, but did not travel to New York City with one. So does the suspect have an inside source that knew that he was traveling without a security detail?
Why didn't you have a detail?
And why don't you have a detail? If you were a CEO of any type of Fortune 100, 500 firm, look, unfortunately, crime is high in this country, and especially coming into a New York City, a beautiful city, but there is an elevated risk of crime and every day robberies and shootings. I want these people to have someone with them.
Let me tell you something. As somebody from New York, we could talk about crime in the city. Having a brazen shooting in Midtown Manhattan like this, I don't recall seeing anything like this in recent history. I don't. A brazen shooting, obviously of crime, but to see what appears to be an assassination,
a targeted attack.
I mean, again, an allegedly targeted assassination, targeted attack on the streets of Midtown Manhattan. I haven't seen anything like that in recent years. But look, it's just a bizarre case. We'll see where it goes. Rapidly developing situation. We will continue to follow it.
Okay, that's all they had really to say about that. Oh, I thought it was more than that, Danielle. I thought it was like 60% of marriages. I don't know why I thought that. Very distinct, facial features. Yeah, the teeth also, yeah. Him and his smiling ass. You think they look different this time rhythm? I don't think they do. I think they look like the same person. Denying his patient, he thought to himself, this shit is going to drive people to violence. 2 days later, this happened. Wow. It's crazy, but the doctors are the ones that make the prices, though. So I don't want to say it could be the doctor, but you know, like there's ways around insurance, or you know, like not around it, but to like have them like help you. Like in my okay, so in my will throw me under the bus. Will put me on the chopping block. Okay. So in order for me to get a lot of my facial surgeries, right? We have to say that I have a deformity, because it's not like they're working on both sides of my face. They're only working on one side. But if it's anything that's cosmetic, like fillers, which I've never had any fillers, I've had tissue put in, like an actual surgery tissue added, but anything like that, they will like deny until you say there's a deformity and it's only on one side. Like they have to put it through a different way. Like, because if not, the insurance will refuse it, because they consider it cosmetic, when in reality, it's not cosmetic, because we're only working half my face. If we were doing that to a half of a normal face, it would look pretty deformed. Do you get what I'm saying? So he does look so young for 50. If that's the new, I mean, that's the new 50, I'm ready for it. But he got he had access to all them drugs. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. I shouldn't have said that. That was not right. Should have said that. The next thing I wanted to show you was this man. Okay. So one of the guys that stayed with him at the hostel, he comes out and he speaks with the news. And it looks like he doesn't come up to speak to like right here. So we'll just play like half of it. Because we already know that, you know, the rest of the story, the rest of the case.
Not just where this.
But they're going to talk to one of the hostel roommates, one of the roommates of the shooters.
Person went, who this person is.
Yeah, absolutely. Omar, thank you very much.
Thank you, Omar.
Out front now, Mateos Toronto. He was staying in the same hostel on the
He'd be looking like Bad Bunny.
same floor where police believe the suspected shooter stayed. And Mateos, I really appreciate your time. I mean, what a bizarre situation you find yourself in. I know you're visiting from Brazil. You've been staying in the hostel. You've met some people there. Can we just start with some of the photos you took on the 4th floor of the hostel where you were staying, where where police say he was staying? Can you tell us anything about that? What it's like in there? What those halls look like?
Oh, this is the hostel.
The hostel is actually really crowded. There are a lot of people there, so they divide like rooms to, I think, 4 to 10 people. But in the
4 to
hallway,
10 people in one room.
yeah, 4 to 10 or 12, 4 to 12, yeah.
How big's the room?
So the hallway is just simple. It's just the doors that goes to the rooms, the shared rooms. That's it. That's pretty simple. How the hallways look.
So it would seem from what you're saying that if he was staying on that floor, as they believe he was, that he would have had other people in the room.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Okay, so now you've been staying there for about a week.
Yeah.
And you're talking about these rooms that you got 4 to 12 people in a room.
Yeah.
So from what you're saying, he would have had other people in the room.
Yeah.
How hard would it have been to, as you see it, to even do something like to have a gun in there or something like that?
I mean, it would be that hard. Like if he put on like his luggage or something, because there's no metal detector. There's nothing like that. So I think just go inside and it will be all good.
Just like a regular hotel.
So he could have had something like that. In terms of seeing him, do you recall seeing?
Do the hotels in New York have metal detectors?
Now you've seen his picture out there, and you talk about the hostel being so crowded.
I thought this was one of the guys that stayed with him. I'm sorry. It says man who stayed at the same hostel.
All seen anybody that looked like him?
Yeah, I didn't recall anyone looking like that. And people are saying that he always using the mask. So even if I saw him, I wouldn't recognize him because he was always wearing the mask.
Right. And obviously, as you were there those few days,
yeah.
You know, you talk about the situation. There's no security. There's no And,
I mean,
lots of people coming and going.
There's like basic security
Mhm.
there. Yeah, there's a security like you can't go inside without a card, so we have to check in to go
Mhm.
inside. But like gun control doesn't have any. So yeah, that kind of security is none.
Right, right. And in terms, just out of curiosity, but when you pay, you can pay credit, cash, in
Yeah,
terms
yeah,
of
whatever. Yeah,
any way you want to pay.
yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, it is really fascinating, but also important, as you say, that he
Huh.
would have probably had a lot of other people in the room
Yeah,
where he was
yeah.
sleeping.
I think his room probably like had 4 to 6 people, but I'm not sure because I didn't get to come in there. It was locked.
Mhm.
But the day that I arrived, there are a lot of cops there. People saw him. No,
Mhm.
people saw the cops there
Mhm.
outside the room. But yeah, everyone that was inside the room just went to another room, and I don't know who these people were. Like I asked around, and they didn't know anyone.
That was kind of a weird interview.
Is this the
That was kind of weird. I don't know. That was a weird interview. But then, yeah, so he could have paid cash. I don't know why. I don't know. Hey, Walt. Have a good night. Yeah, so yeah, he paid cash. I could see that, but he still gave him a fake ID. I wonder why they even needed an ID. Like if they're gonna let you pay cash, really. But they are saying that moderators had to delete one of the Reddit threads. It says, as doctors torch dead UnitedHealth CEO. Yeah, I guess they've turned on him. And yeah. It's yeah, just about the unaliving of him. And yeah, I mean, it's like, this is a human being, like, I know that we would all love free healthcare and free whatever, which we really wouldn't, because look at Cheryl up in Canada. She has to wait 8 hours at the emergency room when she goes. I wouldn't want the free healthcare for that reason alone. But he's still like, he was still a human. And I just, man, I really pray for his kids. His kids right before Christmas. Oh, thanks, Lulu. I appreciate it, though. It's an 8-hour wait anyway. That was a weird interview, wasn't it? Yeah, he was like, I tried to go in the door, but it was locked. And then he was like, well, but when the cops were there, they were up at his door. I think that guy might know more than what he's spitting to us. Yes, thank you for liking the video. I appreciate it so much. I really do. That's a great 100. I can handle 100. I can handle 100. Let me jump over real quick before I jump off of here to Twitter. See if there's anything. Is this? Oh, look at that. These kids were found safe. I had them on my Twitter. Let's see. I'd rather put his name in because he's not coming up on the feed anymore. There it is. So that was 6 hours ago. What's the latest? It says that the latest says breaking news that they think that he took a bus from Atlanta to New York. I don't see anything else. They just have a bunch of pictures of the suspect. Okay. Well, we're going to keep on this. Yeah, it says right here too. So I guess other people are. Yeah, I guess CNN or CNN is reporting that he took a bus from Atlanta to New York City. Suggests he might have been hanging around the city for 10 days before he did this. Wow. Oops, sorry. Okay. I think that's all I have for you guys. I was just seeing if there's anything else on here. What's this? An hour ago. The Post spoke to a guest who said one of his roommates in Upper West Side Hostel was a man who closely resembled the person in the footage. Another man who was staying at the hostel said he had spent about 10 days there before leaving on Thursday. For most of the past week, this man said one of his roommates on the 4th floor was a man who closely resembled the person in the hostel footage that police had released. The man spoke to the Post on the condition of anonymity to protect his privacy and safety. He said his roommate never gave his name and shared very little information. He often wore a blue medical mask and a dark-colored hooded sweatshirt. The man said in a text message, adding, he had a good sense of just enough incognito without being too suspicious. People are like calling this guy a hero and stuff. That's just crazy. That's just, we can't be doing that. Hey, Badger. It was just what I had seen on there. It was on CNN. CNN's been like following this case really closely. Like they have the visuals and everything. I think if I even like redo the page, I might put more on there. Did it? Nope, it didn't. I thought maybe it would. But that is all I have for you guys for today. I'll be back on tomorrow night. Same time, same place. Same place, same time. We'll probably go back into Pike County, or there is a couple of things I want to go over in the Sebastian case. We might just do that tomorrow during the day, though. It's nothing groundbreaking, but there's a new private intelligence agency. And I think that they're a fake phony just as much as I think that At Night is. So we're going to go over that, and we're going to figure out what these scheming ass people are up to, because these people are schemers, man. They're scammers. They are scamming. And I've about had enough of it. So thank you guys for being here. Thanks for enjoying the video and sticking with me and liking the video and all that stuff. I do appreciate you guys hanging out with me for a couple hours every night. So I will see you guys all tomorrow evening, or tomorrow during the day. I'll probably will see you on the other channel tomorrow during the day, or maybe this channel. I don't know yet, but it'll be one or the other. And I'll put a community post up that way you guys know. So thank you for being here, and I'll see you guys all tomorrow. Have a good night, guys. Bye.